So the first troubleshooting and debugging technique that I'm going to teach you today that you can use with your students is called the, what I call, the darker lines debugging method, okay? So in this case, in this scenario, we have a perfectly drawn line and a perfectly drawn color code that when we send Evo down the track, it simply will not read. Runs over it. It's just the way we recommend it. It's 5mm line, 5mm boxes. Evo should definitely be doing spin code. So we're going to try a calibration on this robot. We're going to set it on the dot. We're going to hold down the power button. Calibrate it, and we're going to try again. See what happens. Okay, still no color code, no surprise there. So what we're going to try here is we're going to calibrate both of these Evos on two different types of calibration dots. I have one that's really, really, really dark, and I have one that's really light. So we already calibrated that one on that one. So we're going to calibrate on the lighter dot with this second robot. And we're going to see the performance difference between the two. So Evo goes on this line with the dark dot. No execution of the color code. Let's try the Evo that has the lighter dot. Read it perfectly. So why is this? Well, when we calibrate a dot, we're teaching Evo essentially the difference between light and dark and what black is. So when students typically draw their calibration dots, they go over and over and over and over it, and they make the dot too dark. So with the darker robot, it runs over that code, and it doesn't really trigger the code because Evo never thinks it's running on black, because this line I've drawn here is lighter than the line in my calibration circle. Because when you draw lines, typically with your marker, I won't actually draw on this paper, you take the marker and you just draw it once, similar to what you would do with this calibration dot. That is why Evo that's calibrated with this lighter dot is more successful on this line, because it's on this line and it says, oh, that's black, I'm looking for color codes. Whereas this one is following this line and it might not think it's black. It might think it's just a gray color. It just knows it's a line, and we know that Evo will always follow lines of any color. But if it doesn't think it's black, it's not looking for color codes. Here's a solution for this. There's a couple things that you can do. If this scenario happens where you've got a line and it's like, oh, this might not, this looks perfect, there's nothing wrong with it, there's a few things you can do. The first thing is to make sure your student's calibration circle matches the color of the black line that they have drawn. Then take your marker. I'm going to flip it around because I'm left-handed. Take your marker and trace over the line you've already drawn and see what happens. So it's still calibrated to the dark dot. Let's see what happens. You'll notice now that this robot now follows that code. And all I did was retrace that black line to make it darker. So one solution, the easiest solution, would be redraw your black line. Or trace over, not redraw. Trace over that black line, entering the color code. Step two is to have yourself as a teacher draw the students' calibration circles using the color code guide, page 10. It's linked above in this email. Page 10 has pre-printed calibration circles that are empty. Print those off, and then on your own time, draw a calibration circle, just like I've done here, and then give them to all your students to kind of keep in their folders or tape them on their desks, whatever it may be. Just don't make sure the tape's not over the calibration circle. That way they can always just calibrate on the dots that you have made rather than you having them draw maybe a too dark of one. That'll also save you ink color, or black ink color, because the kids are drawing less circles. So that's also a nice tip too. Lastly, the thing you can do is just coach your students to draw a calibration circle. So you're going to want to draw the circle if it's not already drawn. And then to make it light, you just trace it kind of like I'm doing to where I'm not going over the lines every time. And then I'll go back and fill those little stripes in. So there you go. Let's try this one more time. Just kind of recap here. I'm going to calibrate on the light circle that I just drew. And see what happens. Oh, what am I doing? Sorry. So that one worked. And so did that one. I'm going to just calibrate this one on the dark circle just to complete curiosity. We'll see if it works. Very nice. So that's my first tip, making your lines darker. Again, solutions, having pre-made color codes using the little printables on the color code document. Step 2 is to just retrace that black line to make it work. Thanks.